I decided to illuminate my daughter's tutu with LEDs, and I did this by coding Arduino. The best way to describe Arduino is actually defined by Arduino themselves. It's an open source electronics platform that's based on an easy to use hardware and software. It's intended for anyone making interactive projects. Arduino is a favorite platform among makers. There are many well-produced videos on the internet that show project examples and give great overviews of Arduino and what you can do with it. I will link to some of those in the description. I decided to use the LilyPad Arduino USB. Ultimately, I did get to that point, but I ended up using the Arduino Uno in between. Two resources in particular that were incredibly useful to me were Jeremy Blum's episode 1, Getting Started with Arduino. I like to make stuff. Maker 101 had a series of 5 videos on getting started with Arduino. I will link to both of those sets of resources in the description. I followed along with Jeremy Blum as he took me through the basic Blink project, which lets you see if your Arduino is working with your software by sending a signal using a sketch to cause the Arduino to blink for 1 second and then turn off for 1 second. After coding my LilyPad to blink on and off, I wanted to move on to creating output with the Arduino. Then I followed along with I Like to Make Stuff's videos to use a potentiometer to cause one LED to blink on and off at a different rate depending on how the potentiometer was turned up or down. Eventually, I was able to put all of that together and use a potentiometer with 2 LEDs. Once I had gotten the Arduino Uno to create output with the potentiometer, I wanted to be able to code my LilyPad to produce a similar output. I had acquired some LEDs called NeoPixels, so I worked again using 2 sources. At this point in my project, I ran into trouble that cost me about a 4-hour delay in time. When you work with a robot or a computer program, you run a compiler or something that verifies the program, and then you upload the program to your robot. I continued repeatedly to get a message saying that I was missing a particular file. I spent hours trying to get around this, and at one point thought that I wouldn't have a project to turn in at all. After hours of research, I read a message that I had probably read multiple times, and it said, "Don't worry, it's not an issue to have this message. It will use the supplied default." Even though there had been an error message, it worked. In my experience with robots, if it doesn't compile and upload, it doesn't run. But in this case, I learned something brand new. At this point in the project, I had a couple of decisions to make. I decided to daisy chain the LEDs together rather than have each one originate at a different pin on the LilyPad. I also decided that instead of soldering or using conductive thread, that I would use electrical tape and wire in the interest of time.
This is my first attempt at daisy chaining these together. I am going to try turning the power on to the Arduino and see what happens. There they go. 1, 2. 2 more to go after this.
My final step in this project was to actually use this LED light chain to illuminate this tutu. I borrowed a dressmaker's mannequin from a friend and was able to attach the chain of lights to the skirt. Again, I did this using tape instead of using thread or anything more permanent. When I have a little bit more time, I hope to go back and actually solder the joints and permanently attach the lights to the skirt or permanently attach the lights to a different tutu. This project was a great deal of work, but I am so pleased at how it turned out, and I am so excited that I chose to do this project.